All right. So right now I'd like to introduce our county chair, who's going to introduce our senator. And I think everybody knows Peg, so come on up, Peg Schaffer.
So what a great night, and what a great year, huh?
Yes.
One of my favorite Eleanor Roosevelt lines is that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Think about that. How many of us, as little girls, dreamed that we could be anything? We could be president of the United States. We could be a teacher, we could be a doctor, we could be a lawyer, but we can also be the most powerful person on the planet. We have that opportunity. The woman I'm going to introduce you tonight is someone who, throughout her life, has believed that she can be anything she wants to be for the good of the people. She's the one who was John Corzine's running mate. There's a funny story. Loretta and I walked up and down the streets in Somerville when she was campaigning for John Corzine, and she will never forget that, nor will I. We actually had to defend ourselves against many, many angry people. But you know, she prevailed. She's a stalwart. She's a progressive. You know, one of the cooler things about her is that she and I both made sort of made a list this week, and she was actually on the list because it was a list of the 30 most powerful women in the state of New Jersey. Loretta's number 2. Now remember, I told you it was 30. I was number 31. But my friend Loretta, nonetheless, congratulated all 37 of the people that Max decided to put on the list. Thanks, Max. You know, in case you care, I can tell you I don't care all that much, but if we win this year with the tremendous candidates we have, I bet he'll put me on the list next year in the top 30. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce to you my good friend, the Senate Majority Leader, Loretta Weinberg.
Peg did not leave that joke for me. Actually, and Max Pizarro from Politicker, now known as The Observer, did compile a list, and it said 30 most powerful women in the state of New Jersey, and there were actually 37 names on the list. So I'm not sure whether a typo came, but just a little bit of history. Politicker has been compiling those lists for a number of years. And for the very first time, well, each year, I have felt it important to answer your list. They put the 100 most powerful, whatever, however they list it. And of course, the first thing I always did was count down to find the first woman on the list. And then how few women there were in relationship to the entire number. And then proceeded each year to compile a list of powerful women. And to their credit, it was printed in.
List of women?
Yes.
It's before the power list, which is aimed entirely at preempting.
Yeah.
List.
So for the very first time in a number of years, I did not have to publish the Loretta Weinberg list of powerful women. So thank you, Max. You saved us, saved us some work. But first of all, I want to thank you for honoring me by inviting me here tonight. We took a trip from Trenton to wherever I am, Bridgewater. And I said to Shane Mitchell, who is one of my legislative aides, as we were driving through farmland, are you sure you know how to get there? And I'm still in New Jersey. You actually can get from Trenton to Somerville, to Bridgewater, pardon me. I know I was asked to talk about women in politics. First of all, with your county leader, with having a female county leader, one of the first, Schaffer, and certainly one of the few, although we've certainly improved our numbers somewhat in terms of county leaders, but my friend Peg Schaffer has not only taught me about Johnny Blue Label, even though I'm a vodka drinker, but really she has set a standard to have, sorry, that was not a joke, that was a serious comment, the last one. She has set a standard. And in order for women to be able to move ahead in the political system in New Jersey, we need political leaders, county leaders, who will help women, who will invite them, who will nurture them, who will help them win offices. And Peg, you have really been really a stalwart in that area. And those of us from outside of this area who know you appreciate that. So thank you very much. You know, the importance of women in politics, I really shouldn't have to lecture this organization. But I'm just going to share one story with you. And it goes back to a very early part of my political career. One of the very first issues that I got involved in, and I was still serving in the assembly at the time. And it was a period of what was known as the drive-through deliveries. Moms came into the hospital at 8 o'clock in the morning, had their babies, and at 8 o'clock at night, the insurance companies were shooing them out. And we had to pass a bill in the state of New Jersey, and took some doing, to require insurance companies to pay for 48 hours in the hospital, a big 48 hours, for new moms and their babies. And I will tell you that it was really the women in the legislature, the few of us who were there at the time, who kind of understood this more so than a lot of the dads or a lot of the men. And this bill was done in a bipartisan manner with the then Republican Assemblywoman Rose Heck. And we used to go around and appear at committee meetings because the insurance companies really fought us. The idea was a woman did not need any period of time in a hospital after giving birth. So we used to appear at various committee meetings to try to get this bill done. And we had a little agreement between the two of us. We would give our testimony and say things and drag out the words. Say things like bleeding and breastfeeding. And we would drag out these words, and it was in that era. And the men used to say, okay, don't tell us anymore. We'll vote to get this bill out. And I said because we did this with a little sense of humor, but with great seriousness. And we were one of the first states in the nation to require insurance companies to pay for 48 hours for new moms. And I will tell you, it was during the era when the other Clinton, President Bill Clinton, was in the White House, and our bill became the basis of the federal bill that was eventually passed and signed by President Clinton. So when we talk about issues that really directly affect women, and by directly affecting women, we affect their families. And by directly affecting their families, we affect the communities we represent as well as our whole nation. So when we talk about pay equity, or earned sick leave, or child care, or particularly for single heads of household, I think we bring a unique, we, women, bring a unique understanding to some of those issues. And that's why it is so very important for all of you to be toasting women the way you are today, tonight. And any of you who have been to the presidential monuments in Washington, D.C. should know that the FDR Memorial is the only memorial in Washington where the president's wife shares equal billing in his memorial, and Eleanor Roosevelt was right next to FDR. In fact, probably helped keep him on the straight and narrow a few times during the course of his public career. And it is the only monument in Washington, D.C. where both the husband and the president and his wife are equally featured. So if you haven't been there to visit it, you should be. So I want to take this moment really to thank you. To thank you for being Democrats in an area where I know it might be a little bit more difficult. To thank you for the people running on the Democratic ticket against people like Leonard Lance. You know, I served in the legislature with the old Leonard Lance, with the guy who used to be Leonard Lance. And I find it almost difficult when I read about him in the newspapers today, about his voting, how he could twist himself into kind of like a pretzel to actually adopt some of the ultra right-wing types of issues that he's become involved with. Really surprises me. So thank you for standing up. Thank you for helping to expose this. And thank you for being a Democrat and speaking out on behalf of all of us in this area. So thank you, Peter. I know that you are honoring a lot of women tonight. It is a great pleasure for me to be here to help honor all the other women candidates that you have. And I promise, although as Peg says that was an awful time we had walking up the street in Somerville, I thought, my God, it was an antique car show, as I remember. And when I approached one woman who had a small child with her, so I thought, well, I'll talk about school funding. You know, we Democrats believe in funding our schools, and she's pulling a little 6 or 7-year-old along with her, and she said, I don't care how big my child's class is. Right. I remember that quite well. There are a few highlights of the campaign. I am voting Republican. So it's like, thank you very much. And we moved on. I think we found one store owner who welcomed us, who was a... Anyway, you are all to be congratulated, and particularly when it comes to the presidential election, a Democratic vote, whether it's in Bridgewater or Manville or Teaneck or Fort Lee, one vote for Hillary Clinton counts equally from here or from Bergen County or Hudson County or any other place. So remember that. You are as important in that endeavor as any other mass of Democrats any place. So as we talk about women in politics, and I know it's getting a little nerve-wracking at this time of year, but this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is our chance. This is the one and only opportunity we have now to smash that glass ceiling, to elect one of the most talented, disciplined, hardworking, experienced, smart, savvy woman in the White House. And we're all going to do that this time. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for giving me Steve Phillips' seat at the table. I did not make him leave. So, I appreciate it. And again, Peg, thanks for all you do, and thank you very much.
get on to, well, let's give Loretta another round of applause. Thank you so much, dear. I can't tell you the pleasure I got out of watching NJN and watching you and John Wisniewski going after the governor. I just can't tell you the pleasure that I had watching that on television. It was the highlight.
Here, one other story with you, I'm sorry. But this is a grandma story. I was in California this weekend for my wonderful, brilliant, beautiful 13-year-old granddaughter's bat mitzvah. Yeah. And it was a great occasion. And for those of you who don't know, the bar bat mitzvah child gives a speech. And my granddaughter got up, and this is the truth, I almost fell off my chair. Her bat mitzvah was September 10th. And the first line of her speech was, 3 years ago yesterday, there was a traffic jam on the George Washington Bridge. That is the honest to goodness truth. I had to share that because I couldn't believe it, hearing it myself. And John Wisniewski and I will be in court on Monday morning to watch the
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.